everybody on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm Jason Hochstedler, Director of Strategic Growth for Office Pride Commercial Cleaning of Greater Indy, Kokomo, and Muncie. We're here with our Open Chair podcast and our guest, Alex Miller from Seamless Roofing out of Indianapolis. Alex, you want to tell us a little bit about Seamless Roofing?
Yeah, absolutely, Jason. Thanks first off for having me. Looking forward to this conversation. I know we've got a great agenda. Seamless Roofing, commercial roofing contractor based out of Indianapolis. We've got a nearly a nationwide footprint in terms of the right project and the right client. I'm our Director of Business Development. Been with the company about 7 years. Really have grown from truly a local roofing company operation to being able to reach clients on eastern half of the U.S. Right. Full service in the commercial roofing space means we've got obviously a project division, so roof replacements, things you might be a little more familiar with. That also brings service division and inspection division. So not just the actual crew on the roof replacing the materials, but also kind of that advisory services. Your
wraparound.
Correct. Yeah, right. If you've got a leak, we can handle that. If you're curious about how old your roof is or what you've even got up there, we can handle that.
And you're commercial only.
All commercial.
No residential.
So, no residential. That mix is manufacturing, industrial, some medical, some office. Kind of hits. We don't do a lot of retail work, but kind of that larger, heavier industrial is kind of our.
What are some big projects you've done?
Yeah. So 2025 was a great year for us in terms of really validating a lot of kind of the processes we put in place in 23 and 24, and really saw
make sure they worked,
take shape. Yeah. One of the things that really sticks out is from a square footage standpoint, we did about half of our work outside the state of Indiana.
Okay.
So talking about the national kind of greater regional footprint that we have. We've really had some great clients that have allowed us to grow into their other markets, right? So a lot of that's repeat business. Couple of exciting projects. We did our first project in Mississippi last year, north of 100,000 square feet. We did a project right on the coast of Lake Erie up in Pennsylvania.
I bet that was pretty.
That was nice. Yeah.
Did you get to see Lake Erie?
Yeah, it was about a mile south of the lake, and so I kind of drove up that way on my way out of town.
You get pictures on top of the roof?
Yeah. You can almost see the lake. You can see some mountains if you look south, which is kind of nice. The lake is right there.
Okay.
One really am excited about. I think we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but here on the southwest side of Indianapolis, we completed our largest silicone restoration project to date.
Nick, why don't you pull that up?
Yeah,
we'll talk about it now.
Do that up. So nearly 500,000 square foot auto manufacturing facility. Been chasing it for about 3 years. Really,
that's a long
cycle. And it's one of those projects where you look at all the viable options, right? There's a range of scopes and materials and things that we could do on that roof to ultimately solve the same problem, was just the pure volume of leaks they had. We were able to work with, a manufacturer and get a spec that was actually custom built for this facility, not only saving substantial dollars, but also there was no downtime. They were running 24/7.
So you guys were doing the complete roof restoration while they were still keeping.
Correct. So they didn't lose any downtime, they didn't have to shut lines down, things like that. And that's purely due to the scope of work and the materials that we're using. There's no invasive nature, things like that.
Well, that's a way to win a facility.
Absolutely. It was, if you don't see us or hear us, you wouldn't even really know we're there. Found out in November, so about 3 months ago, that project on screen there was actually selected Project of the Year with JF on the manufacturer side across the whole country. So we've got some fun stuff still to uncover and some marketing and things like that to really showcase that job. But when you think about what we're built for, that's right down the middle. Large scale, cost savings, unique solutions, working with, not just our opinions, but bringing in a manufacturer, right, to build that spec to where it's something that works, for what they want in terms of warranty, longevity of the product, but also finding the best, value.
And your warranties are what? They're coming from the manufacturer, right?
Correct.
And so you're working directly with the manufacturer, the warranties coming. And so real quick, since you hit on it, what is the warranty process? Should that be like, have you ever encountered that?
Yeah, that's a question I get all the time. That's probably the number one question. Is like, what is a warranty? And and there's all different levels, right?
Okay,
so you and I could go buy a bucket of product, and it's going to have some warranty on it that says 20 years from now it's still going to be this, right? That's a material warranty. In theory, in practice, doesn't really mean a whole lot, right?
Okay.
What we're doing, and that's why working with the manufacturer is so valuable, is we've got authorization with them every year. They got to understand the type of work we're doing, the quality of work we're doing. That allows, us to essentially transfer that warranty to
the manufacturer holds you accountable as the contractor, saying, hey, we say these guys are legit, they're doing it right, so we'll warranty it.
Correct. And then once we're done with the project and we've installed it to their spec, they're actually going to send out an inspector that's not affiliated with Seamless at all, inspect our work, right? There may be a
non-bias.
Correct. Okay. There might be a minor punch list of a couple things here or there they want to see addressed, and we'll take care of that. And then that liability and transfer actually is held by the manufacturer for the period, right? So you can look at a 5-year, you can go all the way up to 30. That's material, labor, and workmanship, right? That's that whole package.
The whole package. Yeah. Okay. Well, today we're actually talking, the title of this, and get this little intro out of the way. The title is "You Don't Know My Facility Yet," and Alex here, he did not hesitate to jump on this subject matter right away. He was actually the first to respond to the email in our network, right? Pretty quick, something he obviously wanted to talk about, which was really important. And I know we talked a little bit, but let's actually, so I know we have another photo. You want to bring up the inspection one? So we'll just kind of bring that up real quick. So I saw this on LinkedIn the other day. You just posted this, right? And so, I mean, we're talking warranties, we're talking, the big job before, right? Sure. And so like, where's the difference? Like when you're going in to talk to facility directors, right? Because this is, one thing with us, like I know for a fact, like facilities, when we start talking cleaning and stuff like that, you got to gain relationship. Yeah. Like a lot of these people are just not handing over their facility to you right away. Relationship, trust, those kind of things. So when you're doing tell me the process behind actually landing on this roof and taking this picture.
Sure. So you're spot on, right? Facility directors, maintenance teams, like they got to know who they're working with. They can trust them, right? So the first thing that, I always share is people don't call me or, invite me out to their facility if everything's functioning properly.
Yeah. Right. Us either.
If you don't have a leak,
there's normally a pain point.
Correct. Right. And so that's kind of, in my process in my own head, I know that there's something wrong because they've engaged with me. They're inviting me out to the facility, right? They're not going to, call me out just to tell them that their 2-year-old roof is in great shape.
I mean, roofs are expensive, so they're definitely not. Yeah.
Yep. So, Jason, we never, I don't want to say never. Almost always, we're going to start with something like this. We're going to get up on the roof, assess it. There's typically leaks, right? That's why they called me. So the picture there on the screen, you can see a flashing failure, right? Water's getting in there.
Okay.
Our first step is, we want to address those concerns, almost immediately. So water stops entering the facility, right? That typically happens in conjunction with a conversation around what's the next step, right? So if this is the first leak they've ever had, right, they're likely going to hire us to fix it. Yeah. And then it'll stop leaking. And, now we're in a waiting period.
But you now just started the beginning of your relationship with that facility manager. Okay.
And the biggest thing there is showing up, doing what you say you're going to do, solving the problem. That's what they really want, right? They want the leak to stop coming in their facility, not having a callback, those sort of things. And that's where that trust starts, right? We know that roofs are installed at the same time across the whole roof, right? So that failure right there, there may not be one on the next corner today, but it's coming, right? Because it's all the same age. It's exposed to the same elements. So we wait, right? And typically what happens is 3 to 6 months from now, they'll call back, hey, I've got a new spot. Great. We'll go address it just like we did. And then we get to a point where that becomes more frequent.
And you've done them, yeah.
And we've continued to take care of them, but now you're paying, maybe there's a monthly repair bill, right? Instead of every 6 months or every 12 months. And so then, so what this picture of, this is actually from an assessment where, we've gotten to a point where we need to have a conversation about a larger project. Like, how are we going to address this systemically, not just repair this one individual spot?
Okay.
So we're going across the entire roof, documenting, putting together an inspection report.
Okay.
Typically, the facility team needs that as internal leverage, right, to be able to take it to
the executive, C-level, whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And so we're helping them tell that story. Right now, we've got the trust built. They know that we, solve the issues when they call. And now we're helping game plan, what's here, what budget do you have? How can we solve this in these constraints, right? And so in that picture, we're documenting, that there's not just one failure, but there may be 30 or 40 across the roof.
Okay. Hey, well, time out. My producer needs to put in his passcode. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. I actually have some more things to ask Alex, but we need this passcode. So 1214. We have the passcode now, so we don't have to worry about that happening again. Excuse the delay here. But let's go ahead and get into replacement versus maintenance.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
So I know one thing you really wanted to talk about, obviously I want to talk about as well, is, explaining roof restoration coatings versus full tear off replacement.
Yeah.
Okay. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so kind of building on what we just talked about, right? There's obviously going to be some level of repair and maintenance that typically happens. Almost never is the first engagement I have with a facility, hey, let's price this thing to replace it, right? Like, one, it's expensive. Two,
the sales side of you automatically goes there because that's where you're making your income. Like the revenues.
It is, right? But at our core, we believe that you have to build that, and then you get the opportunity to ask for that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. That is, the project side of our business is where the revenue does come from. However, there's a lot of the softer trust educational elements that need to be built before that.
But that's really, in facilities, that's the difference between good and bad business. Because you do have companies that they go right for the gusto. Like, they'll tell the facilities person this, you need it all, right? And then in all actuality, you don't. Or there might be a better option in the beginning. So, but you guys are very authentic and just making sure you fulfill that whole relationship.
Right.
Okay.
And so kind of to answer your question there, there's going to be a level of maintenance and repair that almost happens on every roof, right? Because we can spend $500 on a repair invoice rather than spending $300,000 on a new roof. Right, as we work towards that, we know that there's a time where that roof needs to be addressed on a project level. However, the repair is kind of that immediate stopgap, right? It allows us time while, stopping leaks to have the conversation. When you look at roof replacement, I'm not an expert in all trades, but I would argue that that's one of the biggest ticket items that a facility can have, right?
Yeah, by far.
It's probably top three, confidently. So when you think about what that costs, I mean, every square foot of the facility has a roof on it, right? It's not like it's just in this section or this corner.
Yeah.
And it's expensive. I'm not gonna hide from that. So part of why I wanted to jump on this episode specifically is when we talk about options, I through the inspection and assessment process, I want the roof to tell me what we should recommend, not try and take a one.
Now, see, that's interesting. The roof talk to you, speak to you,
right.
what it needs. Okay.
There's different ages, there's different materials, there's, buildings that may be vacant, there's buildings that are, very, critical occupancy, right? Like they can't have any water.
We have the same with floors and carpets and stuff, right?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you talk about, fully replacing that roof, and what I mean by that is tearing everything out and completely starting over, is the most expensive option, bar none. So between a $500 leak repair up to that replacement, what's all of the options in the middle. And that's where letting the roof talk. So, it's really the namesake behind our company. The seamless is where the restoration coating, side of things comes from. It's newer technology in the space, as far as it's not as widely accepted as maybe a rubber roof or something like that. However, when you do have, some proper boundaries and maintenance in place as a facility team or as a building owner, you can actually restore the existing roof. And that's what we looked at on the 500,000 square foot project earlier. For a cost-effective solution that still gets warranted for 20 years. It's still viewed as a new
roof. So it still
roof.
Improves the situation.
Absolutely.
It's just not
substantially. You're just not tearing out. So kind of to answer the question, there's some, minor destructive testing, cores, things that we need to do to be able to verify the existing conditions that is viable.
See how down. That was before we went on. So before we went on, he was talking about the fact that there's actually history in a roof.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's sometimes 30, 40, 50 years of history, right? And an example from 2 weeks ago, we're in Kokomo here today over in Tipton, the vacant warehouse. And
off of Division Road.
Yeah.
I know where you're at. Okay.
And we got brought to the table looking to, maybe put a new tenant in there. It's been vacant for a couple of years. So there's, it's seen a better day. However, what are we going to do with the roof? Because before we can put a tenant in there, we need to address the, ample roof leaks. And so as I, cored into that roof to find some history, right? We have an old wood deck, which is the structural element. And then we've got a built up modified bitumen roof that, from everything I can tell, has probably been up there for close to 50 years.
Whew.
And then we've got a 30-year-old EPDM overlay or roof recover over the top of that. So in Indiana, we're allowed per building code to have two roofs. So they took the original, they overlaid a black rubber roof over that about 30 years ago. So now we're kind of at a crossroads where we can't put a third roof on. I was going to say,
if you can only have two, you can't have three. So now you're
correct. And so that's where, but again, the whole title of this episode is, you don't know my facility yet. Well, I'm learning about it.
Yeah.
Right? And so through that assessment, through the core samples, through some, we can use satellite imagery to kind of trace back, when something changed at the facility, all those pieces kind of coming together. I'm learning about it, which allows me to recommend the best viable solution to not only meet budget, but also, have a projectable future that, so you can sign a tenant in there for 20 years and the roof is going to align with that.
There's not going to be an issue. So let me ask you this. Do you have I have a story. Actually, in terms of replacement versus maintenance. So I actually, we had a car dealership here in central Indiana that I did a walkthrough of the facility. Yeah. And they had those, it's actually the carpet squares. You see it in a lot of commercial. And so they had that in their back business office, their sales area, everything. And when we were doing the janitorial, one of the things was, hey, our facility needs a complete reset, right? Like a deep clean reset. We get that a lot, right? Before we come in and take over the janitorial, we do a complete reset of the facility, deep clean. And part of that was the carpets. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the wear lines in this carpet were so bad. They were evidently clear. I mean, you're talking years and years of wear lines. And honestly, the first time I looked at it, I was like, it needs replaced. I was like, we have no business doing a low moisture carpet cleaning, anything. But we ended up, I went up against my better judgment, right? Just because talking with the facilities manager, they didn't, that was mentioned. We obviously cleaned it. It didn't work. She comes back at me with an email and she's like, hey, we just spent, a couple grand. This didn't work. So then we had to eat it because we had to do it again, hoping we would get, and of course, doing it again, it brought a little bit more life out of it, right? But not, it was still evident that there was an issue. But the whole thing with the story, what always blows me away, the big lesson for me was all this took place over about 3 or 4 months. Because we did win the contract. We went in there to provide janitorial. But then like 3 months into our janitorial, they replaced all the carpet. And they're like, we should have just done this to begin with. And it ended up costing them several $1,000s. And that was actually some of my motivation behind this whole replacement versus maintenance.
Sure.
So I guess my question to you is, you got one of them stories?
Yeah. Too many to count.
Too many? Well, pick one.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I alluded to, right? We know that this is an expensive, line item.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not going to sugarcoat that, right? A replacement of a full roof is expensive. And so oftentimes the logical, thing to do is to continue to, patch and Band-Aid and repair, and like up to a certain point, that is the right thing to do, right? I'm not discrediting.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah. There's a line.
The story, that really sticks out to me is, like I said, the roof is going to age the same way, right? So we go up there and maybe we repair 10 or 15 patches, right, that are failed. Well, the water still has to get off that roof. So what's it going to do? Well, it's going to find the one that's 10 feet over that we didn't address. That's also failing. So the leak will continue to, move across the roof. And the feedback is, well, that leak popped up again. Well, it may be coming in the same place in your ceiling. You may be seeing it in the same area.
Because it's traveling the same way.
It's traveling, on the structure.
Yeah.
And so, we have to, broaden the area, and, anytime that there's any level of callback, right, there's a little tension or conflict because, they, paid us to solve this problem and now it's still leaking. Well, it's not the same spot, right? It's moved. It's continued to
But you have to be able to explain that to the facilities.
Right? Absolutely. And the way that, without getting too in the weeds, but depending on how the deck of the roof actually is installed, when the building was built, there's, there's instances where water could truly run 50, 75, 80 feet in a metal deck flue because of how.
So it's going to appear that you didn't fix the leak.
It's going to leak in the same spot, and it could truly be 100 feet.
But you probably repaired it several times.
Correct. We're going to repair directly above it because that's the logical approach, and then you broaden, and then you got to figure out which way the slope is because water is going to flow down. So. Anyway, that's always one of the ones, to your point, it's like, we've, continued to address the same leak that's happened.
I actually felt, I don't know about you, but I felt a little embarrassed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It was a little hard for me from the sales side because I'm sure like you, I take a lot of pride in my relationship with the facilities manager, what I'm presenting, like the way I'm carrying the brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like big, for Seamless Roofing, the way you carry the brand into the community, the way I carry the brand for Office Pride. Yeah. So like getting those kind of emails or those phone calls as a salesperson or a business development guy, and you're kind of like, you're right, and you're trying to steer your client to see that you're right, that you're the expert, you know what you're doing, and you're trying to. But in the early stages where trust is still being developed, those facility managers are a little skittish, like on some of that. And so you're having to really play almost a chess game.
Yeah.
Between earning that facility manager's trust, so that he can take it to the board and get the approval. But there's a little bit of that. So let's go ahead and go into, because I think that's a great a great segue. Yeah, education builds trust.
Yeah. It does. I've said from the very beginning in this role, our best clients are our most educated clients.
Okay,
and I always, lead with this, especially if it's a new relationship, is I expect you to know little to nothing about roofing. And that's, if you do, great, but that's my job, right? That's my expertise. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what I know about. You have 100,000 things on your plate as a facility manager. I can't expect you to be an expert in that. In fact, I think that's a very wrong approach to do that. We could spend 10 minutes talking. We could spend 3 hours talking about roofing education, right? How much do you want to know? All that to say, there's a lot going on up there that is out of sight, right?
Yeah.
For you, it's a little bit easier to look down and
it is, but then again, it's a great way to talk about, because I know one thing we talked about was accreditation stuff.
Sure.
Now for us, there's a lot of accreditation in terms of medical.
Yeah,
there is in manufacturing too. There's some accreditation manufacturing stuff, but mainly in the medical area in terms of compliance and stuff. And I've said this multiple times. I'm even training our new salesperson. When you're doing a walkthrough in a medical facility, you know, you need to be the one who's mentioning to the director of nursing, to the facilities manager, hey, are you guys part of the Joint Commission accreditation? Are you point of the AAA HC, right? Like, and then actually being able to talk about those accreditations and say, hey, this is where you're out of, you know, you're out of compliance, or we can provide this service better, whereas the current company is doing this. Hey, we have a technology stack that allows you to ensure that you are in compliance. So I think some of that in terms of, you said it the best. I mean, be the expert. I think I've seen a couple times you've made some posts on LinkedIn. I know I've made some posts about being the expert, because that is exactly what the facilities manager.
That's what they're hiring us for, right?
Exactly. Because it's not a vendor, it's a partnership.
Absolutely. And so kind of to wrap the thought about just education, again, I don't expect you to know. You know, and again, maybe one step further, maybe you've only been in the facility for a year, right? You're still trying to get your feet wet.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
Right. And again, I can't project any of this stuff without asking, but when was the last time the roof was replaced? Oh, I don't know. Right. I've been here 6 months. That's fine. Right. Like that. When was the last time you had leaks? I don't know. I've never been here. It hasn't leaked since I've been here.
Probably get that a lot more.
Absolutely. And so when you think about what all I want to share, it's not just education about seamless roofing, you know, solutions that we can provide, why we would recommend this over that. It's also educating them about, frankly, what they have, right? What's up there, right? You don't walk on it every day. You don't see it every day. And that's where we go back to, you know, why that assessment, that initial overview that I spend, you know, anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes up on that roof is just so critical in the process. One, it gives me all the information I need. Yeah. But it also allows me to then go back, you know, and say, you know, you've got this roof up there, you know, this roof was installed in 2005. We can expect, you know, roughly a 20-year lifespan. We're going to be, you know, we're kind of on that edge.
Well, you're establishing your expertise.
Absolutely.
You're putting it down. Yeah, you're establishing by getting that history, going up there, you're immediately telling the facilities manager, hey, I know my stuff. Right. And I know it well.
And then it allows me that next step to go educate about what we want to propose, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think the misconception, I get this a lot, is, you know, hey, I've got a roof leak. I need to replace my roof. Okay, maybe. But maybe not, right? Earlier, but like that's not where we make our money, right? Like, no, the $5,000 isn't gonna, you know, make our year, but 3 years from now, who are they gonna call?
Well, right? Exactly.
It's like we've made them a client. They've experienced how we serve in the field. That's one of my favorite things in my role as well, is anybody that we sign up to work for, right? It's like my job is done ultimately once we sign the contract. Now I want to maintain the relationship, but who's going to be dealing with said facility guy every
operations
day? All the ops guys. And so in my role, I need to do everything I can prior to that contract signing to not only, you know, make the facility team comfortable with our brand, but also like I want them to treat our guys in the field with respect and dignity. And
you're setting the tone.
Absolutely. Right. And like how I interact, not only like I get to represent our brand, but also, you know, the expectation is, well, if this is, you know, how Alex engages, I can only, you know, expect that the crew of 15 guys that shows up after the fact would engage the same way.
Well, and I think the deeper on our level for our position, working with facility managers, the deeper question, or I guess the fight, is revenue versus authenticity.
Sure.
Because, you know, at the end of the day, we are revenue driven.
Absolutely.
You are. I mean, you got to keep the doors open, and both of our roles are focused on bringing revenue into the door, not just for profit, but to pay the employees, do all sorts of things, right? So you have that side of it, which can really tug on you.
Oh, it's always spinning.
It's always, it is on me too, because of the pressure about it. But then at the same time, you have to be able to really throttle yourself and be like, hey, I know my goals. I know it's about revenue. But when it comes to these facility managers, when it comes to these relationships, really when it comes to my reputation in the area, am I authentic?
Yep.
Do they see me as authentic, knowing that they can call on me and I'm not going to misdirect them,
Correct.
steer them
Yep.
in the wrong way? Yeah.
Well, and I think that leads into, we alluded to it a little earlier, but about like letting the roof talk to me versus me trying to project onto the roof. That translates to, budget as well, right?
Exactly.
It's like we can, I could have a roof or a project in front of me where it's, my recommendation is, this needs to be replaced. But in conversations with, maybe it's the facility director and the CFO, it's like, we don't have the funds for this right now.
Yep.
Like, am I going to just continue to press on the replacement? Or am I going to realize, at the end of the day, we all know this needs to get done. It's not going to get done today due to budget constraints. Like, how do we sit on the same side of the table, solve some level of problem right now, right? Again, they get to see how we work. They become a client, right? And then knowing that the project is still there, right? Either you tear the building down or the roof gets replaced, right? So it's like the worst thing that I could do in that instance is say, nope, like my recommendation is you got to replace
Being too aggressive.
Or too, stuck in your ways.
There's a level of disrespect, I think, with facility managers if you're pressing too hard in the in the service industry where we're dealing with facility guys, whether it be a facility product or facility service. If you press too much, it's not like they don't know their roof needs replaced. I mean, they're not sitting there like it is disrespectful because they're in a sense, I could imagine they're looking at you. They're like, okay, I get it. My floors need done. Thank you.
Yeah.
You've told me that 1,000 times.
Right.
And if it is in the budget, I would do it.
I would do it.
And so a little bit of that is just, maintaining that relationship and being able to understand that. But that actually, let's jump real quick because that actually the great segue again. So let's get into vendor versus facility partners.
Yeah.
Because there's a huge difference. Yeah. So why don't you tell me a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, there's 1,000 of me, right?
Come on now. You're right.
There's more. And that's something that I really have to, spend a lot of think time, about is, it's my job to represent our brand in a way as the outside the walls representation of seamless roofing where we distinguish ourselves, right? And
set yourself apart.
Yeah. And so going back to what I just said, you got a leak here in your office, there's 15, 20 people in the greater Kokomo area you could call. And honestly, they probably all do a great job, right? There's going to be some bad apples, but like, at the end of the day, if you're in business still, you've got some level of reputation, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about vendor versus true facility partner, the way that I internalize that and try and then position our company is through a couple things. I think first of all, it's adding value in the form of information before they ever pay us anything.
Okay.
So,
that's interesting.
Right?
Elaborate.
So, I go out and look at a facility for the first time from a inquisitive, informative visit, right? I'm not charging for that.
No, because you're just poking around a little bit.
Correct. I'm figuring out what they have. I'm learning about their facility. I've heard stories where that, there's an invoice on the heels of that, right? And I get that it's my time, but that's not the point. I need to help. I need to learn just as much as they do to be able to take the next step.
That and part of facility partnership is your time as the investment into the partnership. Their investment into the partnership is trusting you and paying the money, for the service or the thing. But your investment is your time,
right?
Like you don't need to be charging them for that. Yeah. Okay.
And then I think really, we hinted at it a little bit in the previous segment, but like education and providing, some level of information where they can trust me as, I'm not just going to try and win the project, right? Like I said earlier, when we started, we haven't grown into a national brand or national footprint out of our own efforts. That's people who we've met locally taking us there,
Yeah,
asking
they're
us to-
spreading it for you.
They've
because-
got multiple facilities.
Yep.
They experienced something so great in, Indiana. They wanted to take us to Pennsylvania and Mississippi and Georgia and North Carolina. And
It's funny about you saying that is so last year, the biggest account I closed last year actually was because of that. We started with just a few very, very small
Sure.
facilities of theirs. Their facilities are like, you're talking about, they're in shopping centers, right?
Okay.
A lot of them are. So they're like maybe 2,000 to 4,000 square feet, real small in a shopping center. And so I remember I got to hand it to our operations team first, because they just kick butt every day with quality and stuff like that. But the two small ones we were doing, like, it got back to the VP of facilities all the way down in Brentwood, Tennessee. And she's having a meeting with all their regional people. And it was actually Julie out of Indiana, their regional person out of Indiana, that she's like, hey, I don't know if you guys have heard of this Office Pride commercial cleaning. She's like, they're doing our facilities in Central Indiana, but maybe we should talk to them about, and so now we're actually onboarding the last of their 66 locations across the United States, right?
Yeah.
And it's I get it. Yeah, it's some of that.
So, I think that's a great example, right? And that's kind of what I was alluding to. But to kind of wrap the thought on vendor versus partner, the way I think of it is, that the comparison in different terminology is, are you looking for a transaction, right? A project, which, again, in our roles, like, that can be enticing, right? Because it's like, I think I could go sell this roof.
It's instant revenue.
It's instant.
Low hanging fruit.
Yeah. But, like, what's the trade-off, right? If I go push this, maybe we win the job and we do good work and, like, it pays
you
the
get
bills,
your commission
and
or your bonus.
And we get that one project. Or do we, here's a good example, is a lot of our clients, they move assets, right? So they're buying and selling consistently.
Okay. Yep.
So say we're looking at a building, and, like, through our conversation kind of offline, I learned that in the next 18 months, they're going to sell this building. Well, again, the roof might be in rough shape and need replaced, but, like, is it the best thing for the long-term partnership?
No, because they're selling it.
Because they're selling it, right? They're never going to recoup that money.
A real partnership question would be, where are you going to, and what's that roof look like? Maybe.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Or I mean, if they're, and that's where a lot of these have developed, right? They're, a lot of our clients are acquiring buildings, even to the point now where before they close, they're asking us to speak into the roof and provide some budgetary pricing, so they know that
before they even make the purchase,
their pro forma is more accurate, right?
Now, see, that's an area,
right. And
true.
so, like, we're getting to be in those conversations.
Okay.
And again, when you think about, could I have sold that building or that roof? Probably, but, like, they're selling it in 18 months. I'm not a fiduciary to my client to do that. Let's spend 10 grand, get it watertight, make some repairs, extend the life, whatever we need to do. So, when you sell it, there's not puddles everywhere, right? But if you're going to get out of that space, if you invest $500,000 into that roof, you can market it as having a new roof, and the warranty is transferable. So, like, those are good things. Okay. But, like, if you spend $500,000 on that roof, you're not getting that dollar for dollar back, right? You might maybe get $100,000 because, you can market it that way and, sell it as having a new roof that has 18 and a half years left on the warranty. And, like, that happens. It does. But again, kind of to wrap this segment on, like, the partner versus vendor, I believe, like, if you're just a vendor, you're looking for a PO, you're looking for a transaction. If you're a partner, it's like, how in the weeds can we get, right? And I mean everything from scope selection to, providing 4 options, Well,
and it goes back to the expertise thing in a couple segments earlier, where it's like, if you are the expert and it's almost like it's an equation, you got a little bit of, I'm the expert, authenticity, my brand, you put it all together and you mix it. Good work. Work ethic. And you just do the right things with and I think really, it's a combination of all that comes to being a partner. Sure. The difference between a vendor and a partner. Because I know for me, like, on the commercial cleaning side, we do specialty projects. So we'll do like a strip and wax.
Oh, sure.
We'll do a carpet cleaning, like I said earlier, deep cleaning, maybe even, high dusting.
Yep.
We do a lot of high dusting. And we're talking 30, 40 feet up in the
Sure.
air, right? Where areas that don't get dust much. And then in situations like that, it's like we're not doing any of their janitorial, right? Maybe they have an in-house crew or something. And so in that situation, it's like, it is a little bit more transactional because I'm just walking in, I'm doing it, and it's like, then we perform the work. But even in that sense, I know what I've been trying to build here locally is, okay, well, let's have a bigger question in terms of, you got your stripping and waxing done, but you're going to need it annually, or you're going to need this semi-annually. Yep. So won't we just go ahead and pre-schedule? Let's have a talk about what future pricing looks like and lock it in now. Yep. Let's get it in the schedule. And so I think there's a part of that partnership is preventative maintenance, is walking it out over the course of time, like you've said, with the customer, instead of just making it about the then and now.
Well, I think I mentioned it before we went on air, but in the roofing industry compared to some other trades, it is a little unique that most facilities aren't mandated to have some level of annual inspection, annual maintenance, right? Like HVAC, you're on a contract changing filters, right? Fire protection is literally driven by, the fire chief.
Yeah, codes compliant, right? Regulations.
Compliance.
Yep.
Like in our world, like there's a little of that if you get into some real high-end medical, but for the most part on an average project, like that is simply a decision that, a facility team has to make and likely be educated on by a partner to make that choice, right? So we have a lot of clients that, we have one that they pay us quarterly to just assess the roof.
Make sure they're keeping up on it.
Yeah, right. Okay. Is there debris? Are the gutters clean? Is there any damage? Did a tool get dropped? All those sort of things. But even furthermore, that's maybe a little excessive every quarter. But it shows me that they care.
They do out there for that.
But the more people that we can get onto a semi-annual or annual, call it a warranty compliance or preventative maintenance,
or maintenance program, something like that.
We've really, that's been a big push lately on our end because it's just not, it's not a widely practiced, because nothing's driving it.
Believe it or not, in commercial cleaning, I should say with some of those companies out there that only deal with specialty projects, it is a little bit more scheduled. But I know on the janitorial side, I've been really pushing that. But to keep with time, obviously we got to make sure we don't bore our followers too much with this conversation. We've been talking obviously about, you don't know my facility yet, but really important here. Alex is obviously a great partner of Office Pride of Commercial Cleaning. We're in a couple networking groups together, which shout out to E3W, right? To all the guys. You guys know who you are. Great group. We all hold each other responsible. Good business. But let's kind of bring this all to a close. I really want to give you your time here. Give me a value prop. Why should a facilities manager trust you? Why should they choose Seamless?
Yeah, like I said, there's 1,000 of me. I know that there's a lot of companies that do the same thing we do that do it very well, and that's great for our industry. Yeah, right. And anybody that's elevating the overall roofing industry, I'm always excited about, and I'm always glad to be at the table with those folks. At the end of the day, the biggest thing why I've been here for 7 years and continue to, be here, is we don't try and put roofing in a box. I think our industry, part of it's driven by manufacturing and where, pricing is and things like that on the material side. Part of it is driven by, what's the simplest system to install, right? How do we, turn this quickly? Yeah. Part of it is driven by historical practices. Our industry does not change. There's products and systems that are, we're going on in the 70s and 80s that are still being installed today, which is, it works, but it's not innovative, right? It's not, it's not tech driven. It's not tech driven. You're not bringing new technologies. Just think about all the other industries that, got computers in our pockets now. 20 years ago, you didn't even have a computer at your desk, right? Yep. So, things like that we just haven't experienced much change. So the way that we view roofing, our mission statement, if you will, is serve our clients and serve each other. Now that, 2017, when we started this thing, we looked at roofing industry as, underserved from a do what you're going to say standpoint, no innovation, and just a massive upside because we don't tear stuff down in America, right? We don't. Right,
we
reuse.
We just market historical is what we do.
Yeah. And so,
which causes problems
the
for
more
people
that we
like
build,
you.
the more that we build, the more that 20 years from now that building's going to need a new roof. And so 2017, when we kind of got this off the ground, that was kind of the hypothesis. Continuing to talk about why seamless. I think my favorite part about when I'm delivering a potential project proposal is I don't know the last time that I offered just one solution.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, different warranty lengths, different
You're giving
scopes.
options.
Yeah. And when you're spending the amount of money that you are, why it'd be so ignorant for me to, project, one material type and one warranty length and one project scope onto your facility when, even if I ask a lot of questions, I may still not know the best intent for your team, right? Your C-suite, your, whatever. And so I just love that about, our mindset to roofing is we're going to let you choose and we'll do any of it, right?
We're going to be, you're going to be the expert.
Yeah.
You're going to provide the options.
Yeah.
But you're going to let them choose.
Yeah. And whatever you pick, I mean, I had with our director of operations yesterday, I mean, it's a repair even. It's not even a full project. And he was, pushing a little bit harder for this option in terms of he thinks, long-term, this is actually simpler and better. The client was really asking for this.
Okay.
More expensive, arguably, the longevity may be a little bit longer than this, and Nate said this as we were, kind of wrapping up the conversation. He said, I'll do whatever they want and we'll do good work. Right. And so, there's 4 options on that proposal and they're going to call me back and pick one of them.
Yep.
Right. I didn't project, even though they said this is maybe a good option, a little bit cheap, whatever.
You're weaving your expertise into every option.
Yeah.
And I think we do the same thing. Like that's one thing I push for is not giving the facilities manager, hey, this is your one course, your one lane. This is all you got, right? Because I think, well, first off, you and me both know facility managers don't like that.
No,
they don't, and they want to see options. They want to know.
Yep.
And I think that's really important. I think the whole subject matter of this whole discussion, you don't know my facility yet, is I think in essence exactly what you just said that Seamless does and something Office Pride does is presenting a proposal with options. I've got to know about your facility, but I too am still learning your facility. So because I'm still learning your facility, I'm willing to recognize that here's some options.
Yeah.
Right? We're both learning the options. All of them are going to work.
Correct.
We're going to give great quality service at every level. Doesn't matter what option you pick. Because I see that on our side with the introduction of robotics in our floor care.
Sure.
I'm presenting robotics as an option to a lot of facility managers right now, right? Some scared to death, don't even want to touch it.
Yep.
Others are like, oh, that's interesting. Send me more information. Sure. So it's that option is really big. And I obviously that's just huge, is providing that for facility stuff. So
I'll land with this. The last thing I'll say is, any industry, any organization, it's the people.
It is the people.
Right. And you can, you can be great at what you do. You can be, your pricing can be really good. You can have a lot of, enticing things, but, it's the people, and that's everybody from, top down. I mean, and that's something that we preach, right? It's, my favorite thing is, when I see, our owners taking the trash out.
Servant leadership.
That happens, man.
Servant leadership.
Every day. I mean, yesterday, Nate, our director of all field operations, was mopping the bathroom floor yesterday. And
you should have called us. We would have mopped it for you.
But no one was asking him to do that, right?
Yeah.
And so, like I said a minute ago, I'm out front representing our brand, to a potential, client, buyer, whatever you want to call them. I've got to hold myself to a standard. But then, the expectation is what I discuss with me needs to be delivered upon from everybody that follows, right?
Yeah. Trust is a bigger game.
Yeah. So it's all in the people, man. We've got a heck of a team, top down. I love going out to a job site and, getting hugs from some of the crew members I haven't seen in 6 months while they're working, right? It's like, they're excited to see me, right?
Yeah.
And we have that relationship that, they've been in Mississippi and everywhere else. And then when we show up, it's like,
Do some of your ops managers or ops people, do they get pretty excited when you land the deals? They get pumped like you?
Yeah. We've got a one of our values. We got 4 main values. One of them is compete. And we got a lot of athletic background kind of in our team.
So there's a little bit
of that. And we go celebrate, when we get a big win. And that's not just me, right? It's not fun to win alone. Right?
No,
I want to win with everybody, right?
Yeah.
And one of my favorite calls, we can land the plane here. The job we started with.
It's our second landing.
I know, that's all right.
Okay.
We had to take a
it's all right. We can land 3 technically.
Can't put 3 roofs on though.
That's right. Only 2.
Nate let me make the call to our head foreman when we landed the 500,000 square foot job.
The one that we saw at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Normally he'll kind of make that call, tell him, here's kind of when we're looking to start. Let's get things lined up. But that was just such a, feather in our hat and been working on it for so long.
Heck yeah.
He asked if I wanted to call Victor and let him know. And man, it was, I'll never forget like just his reaction, on that phone call, right? It's a guy that, he's been roofing for 35 years and the way that he was excited and ready to go serve, right? Like, when can we start, right? It's like, we want to talk about, being able to sell from a place of just peace and it's
motivation.
Like, when our guys are ready to just get going. So,
well, guys, you don't know my facility yet with Alex Miller from Seamless Roofing. So, pretty awesome. I think it's actually our inaugural open chair series. So Alex was the first to do it. So some of this, obviously, I think we nailed it. We'll probably get better. We'll also have Alex probably back on again, I'm sure, down the road. And so anybody else, obviously, in our network, anybody that knows Alex, anybody just, you want to jump on here and share a little bit about your company, do so. I obviously want to plug Seamless Roofing. They are a partner of ours. Alex here, just a great guy. I see him in several network meetings throughout the month. Again, we hold each other to a high standard. And just so when you see that connection or that partnership, that you're not just getting good service with who you're dealing with. If they recommend somebody, then they're extending that trust beyond beyond that. So that's really important. But Seamless Roofing, you heard them. Central Indiana and beyond, obviously making a national footprint, growing big time. Office Pride Commercial Cleaning, we're Greater Indianapolis, Kokomo, and Muncie. We also are growing and just really enjoying doing business with authenticity. So this has been great. Take a watch, share it, post it. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Definitely important, right? And anything else you got for us, Nick?
Oh, y'all did great.
All right.
Thanks,
So
Jay.
we'll